Alright, this is Brother Marcus again, coming to you this evening, January the 13th. Of course, it's 2015, and this is day 3 of the 10 tips, 10 days for $10. We're pressing in. I know I'm pressing in with this thing, committing to the people. The 10 tips, 10 days for $10. Like I said before, we're on day 3. Tip 3. Yesterday, which was day 2, we spoke about rules, and we also spoke about the basic fundamental things and principles that we need to advance into our jobs, into our careers. We touched a little bit about how each professional athletic team has a specific drill day, and the drill day is a practice session, and the practice session is in preparation for the game. And we also talked about that practice makes permanent. When I practice the correct way, there are permanent things that are installed on the inside of me. The gifts on the inside of me are perfected, and I'm able to function. Another thing that I didn't add to it is that audibles. Sometimes in game situations we have to call audibles, but audibles never deviate from the foundational principles that we've been taught, especially when it comes down to our careers and our jobs. But we got to make sure that we practice the correct way the first time in order to form the habits that become a part of who we are. Habits are built bit by bit, piece by piece, day by day, line upon line. So we have to understand that. And then I think the last thing that we touched upon was that a rule is not necessarily something that you cannot do. Rules tell us what we can do within the confines of protection. When we step out the confines of protection, that is called separation. Separation, in other terms, in relating to jobs and careers, separation is being fired from a job because we've stepped outside of the protection, doing things that we wanted to do, but not doing the things that were needful, and not doing the things that will benefit to the organization. That's the agenda, I versus us. We can't have an I agenda. Our agenda must be us. So it is 8:38. I'm pretty sure I invested at least 1 minute or 2 minutes speaking to you, kind of doing a review for yesterday. But we'll move forward with the 10 tips, 10 days for $10. Once again, this is day 3 and tip 3. So we'll move forward in that. Of course, it's only going to be 10 minutes. I'll say that the start time was 8:37 p.m. and we'll complete at 8:47. So let's get into this third tip. Tip number 3. Understand that when you accepted your job, you entered into a new relationship. This is very key. You work with the organization and not for the organization. You have to realize that you are not a slave. You are a key player that plays a part on a team. So sometimes people haven't come into the realization and understanding that when we accepted the job, we accepted the terms of agreement, we accepted and we entered into a new relationship. Many times when you go into a new place of employment, there'll be some type of acceptance letter or offer letter given to the new or potential employee. In that acceptance letter or that offer letter, there are specific expectations that the organization will ask us to meet or you to meet to form that binding contract to hold us accountable for the terms of agreement. It's just like any type of relationship that you would get into. Any successful relationships needs clear-cut expectations, and those expectations may change over the lifespan of that relationship, but they have to be managed properly. They have to be managed. So when you come into a new relationship, going into a new job opportunity in the journey and expression of your career, there are always expectations that have to be agreed upon, that have to be met. So we have to understand that when we go into that new relationship, we need to understand the expectations of that organization, understand that we actually enter into a partnership. We don't necessarily work for the organization, for that will be slavery. Now, in layman's terms, I know people like to use that I work for, but you really work with, because you're a representation of your organization. So when you go out into your community, whether it's the grocery store, whether it's the barbershop, whatever place that you desire or you like to frequent, you are a representation of your organization. You're an offspring of that organization. Even in small talk, people ask you where you work at. And then once you let them know, they want to know a little bit more about the things that you do. And many times they're trying to get a job when small talk is taking place. Alright? So we have to realize that we are not a slave. We are key players that play on a part of a team. So we're not the player. We're not the person. One thing that I have a disdain taste for is a person saying, I like to be a go-to person. My thought is that even though people like to be a go-to person, that's not always the best thing, because it stifles and it handicaps others for fulfilling their purpose and understand the capacity in which they should function in. If you are a so-called go-to person, then you should be training up people to be go-to people. People shouldn't always come to one person or an individual for all the answers or the majority of the answers. Each person needs to be trained in their discipline or their discipline of craft to be able to effectively communicate and answer those type of questions that may come to a person, or that may come to a person from the customer or consumer that's doing business with that organization. So understand that it's not meant for one person to stand alone, but we should stand together in a team setting. Now this is a bonus tip. I have 5 minutes. We're doing a great job. Make sure that you have any questions that you can post on the Facebook page. If you are part of the Facebook page, which is the Job Facebook page, as you can find it on Facebook under my name, Marcus Cage. Or even if you're watching this video, you can go underneath the video, either like it or dislike it, whatever your feedback is, and you can also place comments on it if you have questions, or even if you don't agree with some of the things that I say. Everybody's entitled to their own opinion, so it's no harm done against me as a person, but I need to know what people understand and what they don't understand, and how I can gain understanding from you as well. So just leaving that open for people that's watching this video. So we have 4 minutes. The bonus tip for today is learn everything you can about how the organization works internally. You want to familiarize yourself with the employee handbook. I believe that one of the best keys to learn organization internally is to survey the people that's been there internally. You can come in and find out a lot about an organization from an internal aspect once you get to understand the people, the processes, different meetings that you may get an opportunity to sit in, or even if you want to sit one-on-one with a person that's been in the organization that's advancing. That's a good way to learn a more pure sense of mission and vision of that organization. And also, in addition to the handbook, is a familiar piece that I see people don't really take heed to, but in most organizations, that's quote unquote a Bible, because that's how the organizations ran. I love to go into the SOPs, which are called Standard Operating Procedures of an organization. It allows me to see what the processes are and what process can be improved, because sometimes those things can be outdated when they've been written up years back, and now that we're coming into 2015, 16, 17, we have to refine those things. So I say that to bring the point that the employee handbook is a very key component to understanding the culture, what to do and what not to do within an organization. Let's see. 2 minutes. Reading and understanding your employee handbook lessens the learning curve, because its learning curves are really rooted in exposure. The more you've been exposed to something and understand it with the purity in your heart, not necessarily your brain, but your heart, it becomes a part of who you are, and you function in that culture every day because it's become a part of who you are. But if you never expose yourself to it, then it results in frustration, because it's as though we're speaking Spanish to a person that's only speaking English, but we haven't went in the handbook to understand the foreign language, so we can't grasp it and have an understanding, which results in frustration. Oh, still got 2 minutes. Oh, 1 minute. The more you understand about your rights and responsibilities as an employee, in addition to the operating procedures recognized by your employer, the more you increase the likelihood of becoming successful during your tenure in a company. So when you understand your rights as an employee, when you understand the operating procedures recognized by your employer, you have more of a likelihood to meet the expectations that was already established when you first signed on with the organization. Leaving you with this: always look at yourself as a service or product provider. Look at your organization as a client, which will prepare you to go into business. I don't look at my organization as somebody I work for. I work with them in a partnership, and I also see them as a client that I'm serving, which is a shift in mentality, preparing me to do business in the community with different organizations that I partner with. So I partner with my organization. I don't work for, I work with. So be looking out for tip 4 tomorrow. I appreciate you. Like I said before, if you have any questions, you can go underneath the comment page on the YouTube page and pose any questions or comments that you may have, or you can go to Facebook, look up Marcus Cage, and then you will find the Just on the Brink of Success page for the people that are committed to advancing forth in their career. Have a good night, and I'll talk with you soon.